Hi, my name's Simon Meacher from Engaging Data, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use WhereScape products with Azure DevOps to create CI/CD pipelines. So for the purposes of this video, we have assumed that you already know how to extract WhereScape 3D files, XML files, and store them in a Git repository. Our pipeline is going to pick up from that trigger point. As soon as the Git repository changes, we're going to pick up the XML files and deploy it onto our target WhereScape red repository and deploy them directly into that database. So let's talk a little bit about our Azure setup. We have Azure DevOps connected to our Git repository, where we deploy the code that will then run the deployment process and move the XML files into red and then allow red to deploy. We have our scheduler server on a Azure VM. We have our database, which is an Azure SQL database. We have all of our configurations set up within the VM, and let's just take a little look at that now. So here we have the Azure VM. In this VM we have WhereScape Red installed. As you can see, it's a vanilla installation with just the standard objects and nothing else. We've also configured our ODBC drivers so that we can connect to the target database. And here's the important bit. We've already gone ahead and installed the Azure pipeline agents onto this box in the services, which you can now see there. And that will need all the permissions on the box in order to deploy the code, as it's the agent that does all the hard work. So it needs access to the ODBCs, and it also needs the right permissions to the target database. So here we have Azure DevOps, and in here I've got all the different pipelines of different things that we've created. The one we're interested in is 3D to red, so we're going to use the 3D XML file and deploy it to red. So going in here you can see that we have, if I edit the pipeline, the YAML, you'll be able to see that where our trigger point is a commit to main. And from that we're going to use the default pull, and the default pull will then run the script. You could use variables within the pipeline, so you then give the name of the server, the name of the ODBC driver to the PowerShell script, and then it knows what to do. But for simplicity we've just set it up like this for the time being. And just to kind of look at the agent pools, the agent pool has been set up. If we go and have a look at the default agent pool, we have two agents, but one of them is disabled, and this is the VM agent. So of course if we wanted to do simultaneous deployments across multiple environments, we can do, but in this case we're just moving to one VM. So moving back to our pipelines then, as we know, this is going to be triggered off a commit to the main event, so let's commit to the main branch. So let's go and have a look at Git for this one. So in our Git repository we can see a couple of key things. We have the YAML file, which is telling the pipeline how to act and what to do. We have the XML, which has been produced by 3D. That's been put into Git. And typically you'd expect that to be the trigger that would then fire off the PowerShell script. And this is the PowerShell script that will do the hard work of deploying the XML into red. So in order to create a bit of a false trigger, I'm just going to add an extra line to this. And then go down and commit the changes. And that's just a temporary file that we're not using. And that should be enough to start our process. So there we go, we've got a job that's been triggered, and in here you can see that it's doing all the hard work. So this first step is deploying all the code and making sure the repo is in sync with what's on the server, and now the hard work of deploying the code or deploying the XML to WhereScape Red has started. And hopefully it won't take too long. And there we go. It's deployed all the code and the job's now finished. So if I go back to the PowerShell, what we've done is made sure that all of the auditing information, log information that's produced by WhereScape Red in the deployment process is captured and pushed back into the pipeline for later inspection. So if we have any problems or anything we need to know about, we can come back here and investigate what happened when it deployed. So now all the code has been deployed and we're quite happy the pipeline's done its work. We can jump back over to the VM, and if we now hit F5 and refresh, you can see that the objects contained within the XML release have been deployed in to the repository, and we also have the ability within Red to see the deployment, so I can now run through the list of everything and we can see the one that was run pretty much 2 minutes ago. So there you have it. We've created a WhereScape deployment process using Azure DevOps, and in this instance we used PowerShell as the code language to do that, but there are other options available to us. We could, for instance, use Python. Whichever language you choose, Azure DevOps gives you a lot more flexibility about how you control your environments and how you deploy your code to your data warehouse. And WhereScape Red's command line gives you far more options than just doing deployment. Building out documentation, deploying changes, environmental changes, backing up metadata. It's all available for you to build into your own CI/CD, and I think this is a very flexible tool and solution for you to use for your data warehouse. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you some ideas about how you can use WhereScape products with Azure DevOps. If you've got any questions for us, then add them into the comment below, and I'll see you next time.